Welcome to The Gay Ugly Truth. My name is Blue, and today we'll be discussing sex in the gay community. If this is your first time listening, be sure to check out my introduction to learn who I am and what my podcasts are going to be about. If it's not your first time, welcome back. So grab a snack, a drink, and a towel, and let's get sticky. All right, so let's get this popper party started. So first off the bat, poppers, what is it? So poppers was popular, started around the 1970s, and then it moved its way forward. Some of the popular brands for this would be Rush or Jungle Juice. And sometimes what they'll do is they'll market it in order to sell it, which you can get in sex shops or online. They would list it as like a leather cleaner or a video head cleaner. And what it does is it gives you like an euphoric feeling, like a little high for about 3 to 4 minutes. So this time is like if you see somebody with it, you know what it is, and you see them constantly putting this little colorful little bottle up to their nose very often. That's because they're trying to keep that high basically going. And it's also very popular during sexual activities. A lot of gay men enjoy it because it heightens some of the sensations as to what they're doing. Also, sometimes for some people, it can actually relax your muscles. So if you are involved with anal sex, a lot of times that actually will help the beginning part where it's kind of painful. Now, have I tried it personally? Absolutely. A lot of people try things for the first time, and it was a big thing. And you see a lot of people doing it, and you're like, okay, well, what's the big fuss? So I did it a couple of times. It really didn't do anything for me. So I was just like, whatever. Moved on. But like I said, some people, they really do enjoy it, and they keep it part of their little sex kit alongside the bed so that they can reach over, grab it, and head right up to cloud 9. Now, how do we find sex? Now, that is a question that a lot of people already know. If you're living through the straight community, and I'm going to call it the straight community, you'll hear me saying that a lot. A lot of times they'll go through dating apps. They'll go on Facebook. They'll go through bars, clubs, and then there's that connection. We kind of do it a little bit differently. Yes, we do the apps as well. Some of the apps that we go through seeking sex is Grindr, Atom for Atom, Hornet, Jacked, Growler. There's quite a bit out there. It's the same as it would be for the straight community. Now, before the apps, when we evolved to that way of finding sex, there were the websites. Websites would have been like squirt.org, Atom for Atom, and then you had Craigslist, which is basically now gone. That was another way that you would be able to go and seek sex as well. And before websites, we had phone numbers that we were able to call and place ads to hook up. Now, a lot of times those phone numbers, you had to pay money to get your messages or to be on a certain platform where you could talk live, add certain features, and it was a big thing. And even before that, or not really before that, but alongside of it, believe it or not, was the newspaper. We used to have classified ads that we were able to place that had specific coding that we knew as a gay community what it meant. And they also had relationship ads, some other things. And I'm sure some of you may have remembered that. I know it's kind of old school. It doesn't happen that way anymore because we are now on this whole app thing. And with the apps, the benefit to that now is that you have a photo, a video, better technology to see who you're talking to. But again, there's a gray area to that because a lot of times what can happen is you can deceive somebody, send them a picture of something they think they're getting, and then boom, catfish. And with the websites, it's kind of the same thing as the apps because you were able to exchange video and photos. And again, it's where this whole process comes in as being something you're not because you're going to get the attention. A lot of times what people are doing is they're pleasuring themselves as they're communicating with you, and they're going to give you what you want. Now, with the phone and the newspaper, you were blindsided. You would make the plans, you would do what you want to do, and you would literally have to take the effort of getting into a car, or take a bus or a taxi or train, whatever it is or how far you're going, and you're taking the risk of either finding a person that you don't think is who you're talking to, doesn't give you the right description, doesn't tell you, all the correct information, and now you wasted your time and money if you had to pay for something to go get something you really don't want. And that's where it falls under as an expensive catfish, because that's what it is. So with the evolving of technology where you can exchange photos and video chat, if you can video chat someone and they're willing to, and they're the person that they say they are, that's awesome. But if you get someone that's only willing to exchange a photo and give you what they think you're going to want to see, and then they scam you or they catfish you or however you want to put it, and then you wasted your time. And another way that we used to engage seeking sexual activity is through the nightclubs. Nightclubs was one of the biggest things to hook up, and as with the straight community, it was the same thing. And when we went to the nightclubs, there are some people out there that did go out for socialization, drinking, connecting with friends, enjoying their time. But it was like a 50-50, because 50% of the people would do that and 50% of the people would go to the nightclub to hook up. And if your purpose was to go and hook up, usually by the end of the night, because the alcohol is flowing, any type of substance that you're going to take to make yourself feel better, you're going to walk out of that club with somebody. And you're either going to end up to their car. If you don't walk out the door, you're either going to end up in the bathroom or on the way to their house. And if your intentions were there to hook up, more than likely it's going to happen. But there are unfortunately those times where you try and you don't succeed. Now, the next area that we're going to go, which is still current today in hooking up, which a lot of people don't realize, is cruising. Now, cruising has been around for a very, very long time. I can't even put a date cap on it because I honestly, personally don't know how far back it goes, but it is a way that we hook up and seek sex. And cruising is not like getting in your car and driving down the road with your friends or just cruising on down to the gas station or whatever. That's not what cruising is, people. Cruising is a sexual activity that we do to seek it. And we do it in the nightclubs. We do it in public. We do it in places that you may not realize is happening. There's signals. There's ways of things that we do. There's places we go. It really is an old school thing. But I believe that as we go further out into the generations, that it's still continuing, because the newer generations are learning of this and realizing how enjoyable it is, like the chase, the hunt, the high you can get off of it. And for some people, it's a rush. It's something that they thrive for. The thing with cruising is it's a quick hookup. Say for example, you're working and you're like, oh, I'm horny. I want to go, get my dick sucked or do something sexual. Many know where to go find it. It can be as simple as a park, a bathroom, a library, the gym. I mean, there's endless areas that we have to obtain that sexual gratification by cruising. Now, the thing is, though, about cruising is it's technically, in a way, illegal. And why I say that is because it's sexual acts in public. And we take that risk if we don't play the game correctly. You can lose at a game, and you can definitely lose at doing this. Now, law enforcement is aware of what we do. And part of that becomes where they do a sting. And what the sting can do is they will send an undercover cop if they know the area that we're doing this, or if they receive complaints, they will send them in and they will set a person up. And when you either initiate or start a sexual, act towards that person to obtain, that pleasure, out comes the badge. And then pretty much at that point, your life turns around. I've seen it. Your name gets put into the newspaper. You become, if it depends on the situation, it could become a sex offense. So it can really, really ruin a person's life when this happens. They can lose their job. And that's the risk that comes with cruising. So it has its perks, but then it has its serious negatives. And that's a choice you have to take. So pretty much that wraps up on how the gay community involves and seeks its sexual activities and pleasure. All right, so now let's lube up and slide on over to sex appeal. The way you look, the type of person you're seeking to want to engage those sexual activities. See, the thing is we chase technically what we can't have. Unless we match that person's look or type, then that connection really isn't there unless you're a person that's in that to that type of person. And then that's where that personality or that trait or, that click you fall under falls into play. Sometimes, guys are into heavier guys. So you have some skinny muscle dude that may be into, a heavy set hairy person. Some guys are into older guys. Some guys are into younger guys, is what we classify as a twink. And I know you're probably saying, what's a twink? No, a twink is not like a Twinkie you eat. I mean, technically, if you're thinking about it, you could probably eat a twink, but that would be basically classified as butt munching. But anyway, a twink is a tag that is assigned to a particular type of person. As again, that would be part of a clique. And we'll cover those topics more into details to the type of cliques and gays that are out there. But overall, it's just basically putting, for example, muscle guy with a muscle guy, a heavy guy with a heavy guy, an old guy with an old guy, a twink with a twink. And if you seek not in that pattern and you're going after, say, a muscle dude and you are an older dude, more than likely that's not going to happen. A lot of times, in order to get that, you unfortunately have to pay for it. And it kind of sucks that it happens that way, but there are some out there that have to do that in order to fulfill that drive they want for that type of person. All right, so now take a sip of whatever beverage choice you have made so you can lube up your throat and get ready for Does Size Matter? Now, honestly, this is the same thing in the straight community that is always asked to women. Does size matter? And you know what? If you tell me you are not, you are full of shit. There are, yes, a small percentage of people out there that it doesn't matter. They could care less as long as they have sex with you. No matter what size your dick is, they're good. But almost every single person, male or female, will tell you, bigger the better. To an extent, for straight people, it may not be the best thing for them. But let me tell you, for the gay community, size matters. The bigger you are, the better it is. And that's just basically how it is. And this, my friends, brings the label a size queen. A size queen is someone that only seeks sexual pleasure with somebody that is well endowed. They set a number and leave it there as their marking on where they will start the size of your dick to have sex with you. And that could be starting at 7 inches, 8 inches, 9 inches. And they do. They have a set number. Now, you could be the hottest dude on the market. You could have the ripped muscles. You could look like the next, America's Next Top Model. And if you pull your pants down and you flop out a small dick, they ain't going to want to have anything to do with you, because then they basically just turn their backs and walk away. And you're like, what? I thought I was hot. Yeah. And the gay community, you may be hot, but your cock is not. And see, a lot of this also extends from porn, because in porn, you always have a well-endowed man. Never have you ever seen a tiny cock in porn. And, when we look at porn for sexual pleasure, that's what drives us. And we see that and we're like, oh, we want that. And the majority of the gay community seeks just that. Now, as we talked about how we seek sex, when you do the exchanging of photos, normally the first thing that comes to requesting is a dick pic. And that's the first thing that always jumps in there. Hey, send me a pic of your dick. And when a person sees that, if they're not liking what they're seeing, you literally, within a matter of seconds, get blocked. And they don't want anything to do with you, or they may lead you on and then leave you standing cold. Now, the funny thing is, and this is going to bring us next to the BBC, and I'm not talking about the British television show or British TV. I am talking about the big black cock. You'll see that. A lot of gay people in the community will chase just black men, or they will chase just Spanish men, because Spanish men sometimes are also known as being well endowed. But overall, if you have a big cock, you would literally have the golden ticket to the gay community. But sometimes, like I said, your image could also affect that. Some people will see it, but then they'll see the way your body looks, or, the way you look just period. But a lot of times they will be able to defocus those certain areas in order to obtain your size of your cock to fulfill that desire. Now, there comes a curse with being well endowed. And in the gay community, being well endowed has its positives, but the negatives to being well endowed in the gay community is that's all you seem to be seeked for. And it gets very frustrating for them, because they're like, can you just like me for who I am Why do you gotta like me for how big I am? And you may think, oh, wait, I got a big cock. I can get whatever I want. A lot of times people seek just that, and they bypass your personality. They bypass, your looks, your quirks. And even in a relationship, they just want that. They're only pursuing a relationship because of the size of your cock. And that's part of where a lot of times in relationships, they don't seem to last long, because then you realize you're only here with me for that purpose. So to ask that question, does size matter? At least in the gay community, it does. All right, so now since I stretched your throat with that topic of does size matter, let's now move on to straight men. Now, I know you're probably saying, how do straight men play a part in sex in the gay community? Now, some gay men will only seek or chase after straight men for sexual pleasure. And again, it falls into that category of wanting something you can't have. But there are straight men out there that do partake in gay sex, but still classify themselves as straight. But they do only allow pleasure to be done to them. So that's basically like you blowing them, or they're having anal sex with you. It's gay sex, yes, but they're not putting that label on there. And why they partake in it is because gay men are very sexually active. It's easy to have sex with a gay man. If you're hot and you're masculine and you're dominant, and those traits is what gets a gay man's juices flowing if they're into that type of thing. Now, I'm not putting women down. Sometimes women are not providing sexual pleasure to the male, and it's not hard for us to say yes. Because again, like I said, we're always seeking sexual pleasure. And if you have a straight man that's willing to give their dick to you, you definitely are not going to say no. And we are not going to question, or we're not going to say you need to wine and dine us first, or you need to do this first, or you need to win it over. If a straight man can get what he wants in a matter of minutes versus if it would take a day or two, or, being respectful to, women, and all he is doing is he's looking for sex. He's not looking for a relationship. He's not looking for a long-term commitment. It is literally a one-night stand, one and done. Get it, get off, leave. And the other thing is a lot of times they can get this pleasure without even physically seeing the person. There are things called glory holes. There are ways to hide yourself. Now, just in case if you're not aware what a glory hole is and you're questioning yourself, what's a glory hole? Most of the people usually know what a glory hole is. It's the hole in the wall. It's usually a divider between two people. There's a small hole there, and all you do is stick your dick in, enjoy it, and then leave. And another way they do it is also by like sheets or doors or anything that can do to hide that person that is there providing the pleasure. And then it affects the man's mental state to fantasize about what is there and what is doing it. And a lot of them are capable of actually doing that. They're actually able to trick their mind thinking that it's a female that is giving them the sexual pleasure that's on the other side of that barrier. And then there is the part where there is the cross-dressers or the transsexuals, and that is an image transitioning to look like a female. And some can be passable, some cannot be passable, but in the man's mind, it's a female. They're able to trick their mental state in seeing that image to allow them to be aroused and pleasured. And then the last thing that I wanted to touch about sex with straight men is the gay for pay. Financial struggling, if you need to pay your rent, your electric, you need food. So a lot of times, because of how easy it is to manipulate or to draw in a gay man to pleasure you, knowing that that is something that is really seeked in the gay community by many, is that, hey, I can get a gay man to give me head and get paid for it. So then boom, there, your rent's paid, you got money for gas. And the other thing is that you can even do this in porn. And that's the thing, is that gay men will pay for porn to watch a straight man engage in sex. So that is how straight men are involved in gay sex in our community. All right, so now let's jump over to toys. So pretty much everyone knows what a sex toy is. I mean, if you don't know what a sex toy is, then that means you must have been living under a rock. So when it comes to sex toys, there are specific sex toys that are mostly utilized in the gay community to help with the pleasure either with somebody or without somebody. So now the first toy that I want to talk about is a flesh jack. What is a flesh jack? It is a masturbator. It's usually disguised in like the shape of a torch or a flashlight that has a cap on the top of it that kind of disguises what it is. And then when you pull the cap off, it is a silicone sleeve that it's either going to be shaped as a butt or it's going to be shaped as a mouth. And then basically what you do is you just slide your penis in. Now, some of them do have different types of bumps or ridges that are, chosen to increase better sensation. But I mean, pretty much at this point, if you're sticking your dick in there and you're using it as a masturbation tool, none of that's going to matter. It's going to feel good, and then you're going to spill your spunk. So the next one is going to be a butt plug. Now, that's something that is used quite commonly in the gay community. And it's similar to a dildo in a way, but it has a tendency to be a little bit shorter, and then it has a little flange end. And this helps to prevent it from getting basically lost in the rectum, because could you just imagine having that conversation at the ER that, I was having fun with a butt plug and then it disappeared. So that flange there helps it from preventing a magic trick and disappearing. Now, they do come in different styles. They're kind of fancy. They actually do come in many, many different sizes. And that's another thing that, you can start out really small and then you could end up with something almost the size of your arm or even bigger. I mean, they do get extremely large, and people do utilize the larger butt plugs for, sexual play. And they also do have a vibrating butt plug as well. And a lot of times the butt plugs will also be made of a soft silicone. Sometimes it can be a hard plastic, but the majority of them, they do stay on the soft side for a more enjoyable pleasure. Now, the next thing would be the cock ring, and the cock ring usually is one of the biggest things that we use, and we probably are one of the biggest buyers of cock rings because it's either used during sex. Some people will actually use it just wearing it every day. They do it for the enhancements. They do it for the pleasure. There's a lot of things that come from it, but it's all based individually on that person, on how they utilize it. The next thing would be the G-spot stimulators. Now, people talk a lot about the G-spot, how it's just like this little pee item that's in the rectum just behind the scrotum. They can be difficult to find, but they have adapted to make toys that assist in locating it and providing the pleasure. And by doing that, instead of just sticking your finger in there trying to play Where's Waldo, you can get a device that's shaped and designed specifically for that. Now, they have created the toy to be vibrating. They have included, now there's one out there that has the app to it. It will give you options to create different types of vibrations, and you can even link it to like a webcam session where you can have your viewers that have different settings that they can choose that helps deliver that intense sensation to help you achieve that orgasm. And then lastly is the dildo. Now, dildos are used by pretty much everyone, male or female, straight or gay, whatever your preference is. But see, with the gay community, we prefer the real deal. We have to use a dildo, we will, but that's probably the last thing on our list because we have willing men out there that are willing to have sex, so why waste our time with a piece of plastic? So now the next big thing that we're going to go over to, which is talked a lot about, is safe sex. And with the gay community, we do practice safe sex majority of the time. And that's why I'm going to say majority of the time. And that's why, unfortunately, a lot of STDs in the gay community are at a higher percentage because of the risks and the way that we partake in sexual play. The way we obtain sex, as we discussed, it happens quickly. So you really don't have time to get a condom, or you're just randomly meeting up somebody, or, you don't think about it and you just want to get off, whether it is through oral or intercourse, however it happens. Sometimes we just don't have the things that we need to protect ourselves from any type of transmitted diseases. So there is a common abbreviation called BB, and BB basically is bareback. And that is something that is big, that is utilized, because basically that's unprotected sex through anal intercourse or oral. A lot of times people don't use condoms condoms for oral, which is understandable. But with bareback, when a man releases, they don't pull out. They just basically blow their load inside the person and then be done with it. And that again puts you at a high risk, but some people enjoy that. Some people love to have a man release inside them. And it's like something that gives them a high. And then if the person is HIV positive or has AIDS, then you don't communicate that and you enjoy bareback sex, then you're putting yourself at risk for doing that. So now the biggest thing that's been going around to help eliminate the transmitted diseases utilized through bareback is PrEP. And PrEP is being used as a crutch because it's basically a blocker to block any type of disease that could be there and to help that person from not getting it, but then gives them that option to enjoy without a condom. And then the next thing is where they will tell you they're undetectable. And being undetectable is basically saying that you don't have the virus at that point. You do have the enzymes or you do have some of the virus in you, but it's at its lowest point where it really can't be transmitted. And I'll be honest with you, for me, that's still a risk because I don't care if you have a very low count of the disease, you're going to possibly give it to me. There could be something in my system that could trigger a positive just coming from you. And that's just the risk, again, that you have to take. And then you have people telling you, oh, I'm undetectable, so it's okay. I mean, you have to really think of these things. So due to the fact on how we have sex and how we're doing things, we're always going to have that risk, no matter if we choose to protect ourselves or not. It's always going to be an option at that point. All right, so now let's get down to the last thing. So before we do that, why don't you go ahead, clean yourself up. By the way, get that lube that you dropped off onto the floor there, so you can put that away so no one knows what you did. Oh, and you got a little bit of something right there. You go. You got it. All right, awesome. So now the final thing that we have here is sex words terminology. And basically these are common words that you may hear in the community that you always wondered what they are, what they mean. And we're going to do a brief list of what these are. Some of these words may sound familiar that we've already discussed, and we're just going to revisit them to just give you a breakdown. So now just a little reminder, these are going to be brief descriptions. I'm not going to go into full detail in them. So the first word is BB. Basically, it's an abbreviation for bareback, which we did talk, which is sex without a condom. So the next word would be coke dick. And basically what that is you're under a substance and your dick's not working. And it's very similar to whiskey dick, which is related to alcohol. And again, that prevents you from getting an erection. Next word is going to be cum dump. And cum dump basically is a man that will take multiple loads, usually through anal intercourse. And what they'll do is it could be done in a single day. It could be under a single period. It could be in a couple of hours. And then basically it's just multiple men having anal intercourse and dumping their load inside you and leaving. All right. And the next word is cruising, which we did discuss. And this is to seek casual gay sex, be it in a restroom, a club, a bar, anywhere you could possibly think that would be in a public setting. Next word is going to be DP, like David Paul. And that is double penetration, which is usually either two cocks or two dildos inserted at one time in the rectum. And it could be, say one person would put their dick in and one person would put a dildo in. So it could be a variation on how that one works. Next one is going to be an eyeball queen, a voyeur, or exhibitionist. And those are self-explanatory. Those are basically people that do enjoy watching others participate in a sexual activity. Or what they'll do is they'll be watching something and doing self-pleasure in order to achieve that orgasm. And then we've got face fuck. And face fuck basically is to slide your cock in and out of someone's mouth, usually while their head is being held still. A lot of times it's also through a thrusting technique. And then we have felching, and felching basically is eating cum out of someone's ass. So basically when you dump your load, a lot of times they get off on basically pulling it out of the rectum. Yeah, it's kind of gross, but you know what? This is something that somebody could be into. And then we have fisting or fist fuck, and basically that is where you're taking your fist and you're putting it up someone's rectum. And then you have fraught, which is kind of new to me. I didn't know that this had a terminology to it. So basically, it's where two men are rubbing their cocks together. And then you got the Hershey Highway, which is a common old school word that you hear a lot. Basically is anal sex. You know, you'll hear jokes about, oh, he likes it up the Hershey Highway. And then we have networking. Networking is a man who does a lot of traveling or visiting areas or on vacations. They're looking for hookups and outside of their hometown, basically. So if you're flying to LA and you're from New York, you're going to be looking for a hookup there. So you're basically networking to make that happen. And then there is the lounge lizard. And lounge lizard is someone who frequents bars trying to pick up other people's boyfriends. So they basically go in and they try to stalk someone that they want, whether they're with you or not. They just basically are classified, to me, a homewrecker. And then there is the power bottom. And a power bottom is someone that is really greedy during sex, getting fucked. And basically, they like it rough. They will go as hard as they can. They usually take control, and they mostly are usually seeking well-endowed men. Now, there is snowballing or cum swap. And basically what that is they usually take cum in their mouth, and then they either usually feed it to another person. And then there is versatile, which is a gay man who likes it both ways. We did discuss about this. This also falls in as the top, which is the man who only fucks. And then you have the bottom, which is the man who only gets fucked. And then a lot of times it does switch up between like a verse top, verse bottom. And then we have edging. Now, edging basically is a person doing self-pleasure or during sexual intercourse. They get to the point of almost where they're climaxing and then they stop. And they keep doing this at multiple points. Sometimes they can do it all day. Sometimes they can do it for hours. And then when it gets to that point, it builds up to that intense orgasm. And then the next one that's kind of relatively new is a scene. It's usually called pup or pup play. And basically what that is it's part of the kink world. And it's usually where someone will dress up in like this pup suit that has a particular look. And what it is they'll play out the scenes of either being submissive or dominant. And normally, if it's the dominant one, they basically are classified as like the handler. And then you have the one that's the submissive, which would then classify as the pup. And they'll bark, they'll get on all fours. Their treats are usually sexual rewards. All right, so there you have it. Sex in the gay community. I want to thank you for listening, and I hope you did enjoy. Please like and subscribe and follow. The next episode is going to be in regards to relationships in the gay community, and that will be dropping on October 21st. And if you have any other questions, comments, or you want to reach out to me, you can reach me at thegayuglytruth22@gmail.com. Please also go and check out my Facebook page, The Gay Ugly Truth, and as well as my YouTube channel, as you can get some behind the scenes content there. Again, as always, thank you, and we'll see you soon.